joined now by Kevin Ferrigan, host of Dennis Podman. He's covering the Chicago Bulls for us here at the Alley Oop. Kevin, thank you so much for joining me, man. We've seen a little bit of a turnaround here for the Chicago Bulls. What can you tell us? 7-3 in their last 10 games. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, they've been better recently. They had a little bit of a skid. They were playing very well. They had a little bit of a skid the last few games where they were more like middling again. But that was primarily, I think, a result of Nikola Vucevic being out and, Nikola Vucevic, not a perfect player, but if you down Zach LaVine and down Nikola Vucevic and have just DeMar as your sort of person that can draw up two defenders, it gets pretty hard to score, especially when DeMar's on the bench. So they struggled a little bit there, but overall, yeah, the quality of play has been much improved since the start of the year when they started 5-14 and the first 19 games before Zach LaVine took a seat with his, I think his foot injury. And yeah, it's the aesthetically, I think more so than anything is that they've been playing fun basketball, which is like, I told you before the season, I had pretty low expectations, and low, like my bar for what I was hoping to see this season was pretty low.
Right.
They started out below it somehow. But yeah, I mostly just want them to be fun and competitive on a night to night basis, and they've been that since they got embarrassed in the in-season tournament game against the Celtics. So.
Yeah, and that's a good start, and it certainly feels like the in-season tournament was a weird kind of. There's a weird kind of blip for a lot of teams. We've seen teams fare well after it. We've seen teams fare poorly after it, especially when they started well. But maybe Chicago's just one of those teams that needed a little bit of a kick in the pants and needed an opportunity to kind of grow. And kind of growing without Zach a little bit. We've seen guys like Coby White really break out and have some awesome plays over the course of these last few weeks. What can you tell us about that breakout? Because it's mostly been without LaVine.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the biggest thing with Coby is that the thing with that Zach being off and out with his injury was that Coby got more touches and he got more minutes, and he got to show off really all the work that he's put in over the last few years. Coby's been getting steadily better. He never until this year really made a big enough leap for it to like stand out. And the Bulls, they were a middling, underachieving kind of team for most of the time that he was putting in this work and getting better. But he's really improved his handle a lot. That's, I think, the base of his improvement is that he used to be very much a guy that went one speed and it was full speed all the time, and it was always in a straight line. He doesn't have a particularly amazing first step. He's fast, but he doesn't have that burst. And so he was a good transition player and he's a good shooter, but he didn't really have a whole lot in terms of change of pace and getting into the teeth of the defense, and making good things happen consistently, because he just was going as fast as he could all the time. He's slowed down, he's tightened his handle, and that's opened up his playmaking, because as his handle has gotten better, he's drawing more defensive attention, other than just being a catch and shoot guy. And it's all kind of come together for him in the last 20 games or so. So and the thing I will say about Coby too is that he's gone on heaters before, where he just like is making every shot.
Sure.
And then he goes into these funks where he misses everything, and that happened in this stretch as well. But the difference is that he continued to make plays for his teammates. Teammates who were still guarding him even when he was missing. And before, teams would still guard him, but like he couldn't really make defenses pay if his shot wasn't going in. And he's always going to be a liability on defense. I think he's gotten a lot better, just in terms of being better about his rotations and communicating on defense and all those sorts of things. But like, if you go look at his impact metrics, he's still like a fairly harmful defensive player, and he still gets targeted
Sure.
by teams because when you look at the Bulls lineup, he's usually going to be the weak link defensively, and so teams really go at him. But he's not nearly the liability on that end that he used to be, and so he's gotten to a point where even if his shot isn't going in, he can still at least be a neutral player, which is
Gotcha.
that helps you minimize a lot of your the worst kind of games, and then when you're hitting, then it makes it that more like gravy.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. And just speaking anecdotally, he was always somebody who, when you're facing the Bulls, if I'm watching the Nuggets and they're facing the Bulls, then he was a guy in previous years that you allow him to beat you, and you don't necessarily like sell out in order to stop Coby White. Now you kind of got to sell out to stop Coby White a little bit because he's been very good shooting the basketball, and he is a guy that you have to run out, or else if you're giving him wide open shots, he's proven that he can take those and make those at a very high rate, and that's been good to see. So glad to see him continue to break out. That might be the next iteration of the Chicago Bulls, though, because LaVine's back. He did come off the bench in this last game, and I'm curious to see how long that lasts. But should be
It won't be long.
fascinating to see.
He's not going to be on the bench for very long. I think that might have even just been a one-off thing to. I mean, it's weird though. They're very injured right now. I mean, getting Zach and Vucevic back helped them be less injured, but Patrick Williams is hurt. Torrey Craig is hurt. And Zach and Vooch just came back, so they've been running out weird lineups anyway, and so. But I think with Zach and Vooch both coming off the bench against the Hornets most recently, their first game back, I think that was just a let's ramp them up. It's the Hornets kind of deal.
Yeah.
I think that those guys will be starting pretty soon, if not the next game. But I mean, Zach was fine his first game back. I think he, made a conscious effort to fit in. And I think that, he's probably been maybe a little bit humbled by the reporting, which is that the Bulls are trying to help him and get him somewhere else because it seems like that's what he wants. It
just seems like nobody really wants him for that money, man. Like 4 years, 180 million. That's a lot of cash for a guy who has struggled to fit into a winning system before.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the talk around Zach is a little has gotten a little bit too much, to be honest. And like I know that perspective is coming, from me, who obviously is biased, and if they can get something for him that would help my favorite team, that so you can take this with the appropriate amount of salt. But I just I've also watched the guy for years now, and he is a very talented player. He's not the defensive apocalypse that people talk about him as. He's like very much like a serviceable shooting guard defender at this point. He was not that to start this year because he was pouting, and that's to his discredit. But but I think that for the most part, he's been a professional here, and he is an incredibly talented guy. I think, honestly, the biggest thing for Zach, and this might be why it's hard to find a good fit for him, is that he has to go somewhere to get Zach LaVine to be kind of what what his idealized version of him would be. He has to go to a place where there is a hierarchy where he knows he's not the guy. Because when he thinks he's the guy, he behaves that way, and he's not the guy.
Right.
And so like the Lakers would be a good fit roster wise. I hate what they have to offer. Like
everybody does, by the way.
Yeah, selfishly, I don't like want him to go to the Lakers, but I think from like purely like if you wanted to get the best version of Zach LaVine, going to the Lakers is like a really good option. Even going to the Sixers, where he would like clearly be behind Embiid in the pecking order. But even that, like I think I'd be a little bit like, does he think he's better than Maxey?
Yeah,
Because
fair.
like, or does he think he should be taking touches from Maxey? Because like, I don't know if I would want that if I was a Sixers fan. Uh, and then like I don't know, I'm trying to think of the other teams that have like
Well,
if you went to
let's
the
go through it.
Kings. If you went to the Kings, like that's another place that's been rumored. I think that's like a disaster because he
Mm,
definitely thinks he's better than De'Aaron Fox. Like, there's no way that he doesn't think that he's better than De'Aaron Fox. I don't think he's better than De'Aaron Fox, but Zach definitely thinks he's better than De'Aaron Fox, or at least like the same. And in
right.
which case, like, which is where he's at with DeMar, which has been like the whole problem. It's like he thinks he should have the ball late, and DeMar has the ball late all the time because DeMar's better at that stuff.
Sure. Yeah, I can look at a couple of teams and see a fit. I could see an alleyway for him to fit in pretty well. Dallas, we've talked about before, as a team that would be a decent option, although they'd be really punting on defense at that point if you're doing Luka, Kyrie, and Zach LaVine.
Yeah, I mean they're
Maybe
already punting on defense though. Like, is
fair.
he going to be a worse defender than Tim Hardaway Jr., who which is like probably the guy that you're replacing in the
Yeah.
rotation? I don't think so. I mean, I think he's probably a better defender than Tim Hardaway Jr., to be honest. Um, and
What about the Warriors and like you trade him for somebody like an Andrew Wiggins or maybe it's Chris Paul's expiring contract
I
and
was gonna
then
say
you add in
I don't want Wiggins back. That's like a worse contract than Zach to me because Zach is still like a good player. He's overpaid, but he's a good player. Wiggins
yeah.
is like one of the worst players in the league now. I don't know what's going on with him, but he is horrible, and he's making like $25 million a year for the next 4 years. I don't want that Wiggins contract at all.
I don't know if you saw the rave in my camera just now, but I was having some flashing over there. But
That's
no,
all
I
right.
think that's my computer rejecting the idea of a Golden State trade. That would be a bad idea.
Well,
But
I think the Golden State thing, like I think there's probably pathways for that to get to something that works, but I just don't know how they feel about Zach. Everything that I've been told by people that know things is that the Warriors aren't like Zach, like super into Zach.
I
And
bet they're not. But like they are also not good. So like
yeah, they need a
I'm not.
talent upgrade, and
Yeah,
he would represent that definitely.
yeah,
I think they should be more interested than they seem to be honest.
sure,
And especially with Chris Paul being injured, like I think now might be the time to, if you're gonna do that. Like the Bulls, I think would take probably um like one of their young players like Moody. I know they don't want to give up pods. I would want pods, but like they're not going to give me pods for for Zach. Like I just don't like. So if they gave him like Moody, CP3, and like maybe one future first, like if that gets it done for Zach, I think I would do that. And I think because you get off the Zach money. And Chris Paul is like a mentor to Coby White, and like he probably won't play for a while because he broke his wrist. But
sure.
like I don't know. I don't think that's like the worst idea in the world. And like the Warriors really can't, like they're bad enough. And they just got destroyed by the Raptors. Like they're bad enough that they need to like make some changes and get some like more quality rotation guys in there. And they can't really afford to have Chris Paul's contract value sitting on the bench for the next 6 to 8
No, I
weeks.
agree. I definitely agree. I think there's something to that idea, and there should be teams that emerge for Levine where you see a guy who has averaged 25, 5 and 5 basically,
Very
and would be
efficiently too. That's like the
like
other thing. Like
exactly he would be an
efficiently.
efficient fit. See my computer's now doing this again. I don't know if you're seeing this, but it's now raving. I just don't understand what's going on. But okay,
You got a ghost in the machine.
I guess so. We're trying to send Zach places that he just doesn't want to go. Okay, back to the Bulls here, and we'll wrap up with this if my computer just calms down. Um, what would like so? What is your approach then over the next 6 weeks if you're the Bulls? Because it's now approaching kind of the crux of the season where you have to decide: are we going to be a buyer? Are we going to be a seller? I assume the Bulls are going to be sellers, and that's the right call. But it's also like you go 7-3 in your last 10, you get back Levine. If things kind of go right over the course of the next few, you could find yourselves back in the play-in mix. What is the plan? Is that the plan to just kind of play it out? What do you think?
I mean, I think that Arturas Karnisovas is perfectly happy to try to be a play-in team and sneak into the playoffs. Like I don't think that he is a guy that seems to have super high aspirations for building something way better than that.
Sure.
If he did, then they probably would have already picked a different direction than what they've been doing. Because yeah, I mean, after Alonzo Ball got hurt, like whatever ceiling this team had was gone. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I think that what I would do and what they're gonna do probably different things. Although I'll be honest, if the offers for Zach are as bad as has been reported, or the fact that there are no offers at all, like I wouldn't just dump him just to dump him. Like I think that he's like a good enough player, and I don't hate watching him. I if he continues to like do what he did against the Hornets, which was like he seemed to be actually competing again on defense, and he was actively like trying to make quicker decisions with the ball and help
Sure.
keep the ball moving side to side, which has been like the hallmark of how they've played without him. If he does that, then I'm happy to have him on the team. Like he's a really talented player, and if he's fitting in, great. But and like I don't want to just dump him to dump him. If you're getting like completely off the money with like the CP3 deal and getting like a young player and a pick, okay, fine, I'm listening, because like they do need to probably pivot to a focus on the younger guys. But I also don't think that they should like try to dump like Vucevic, because you still need guys to like set up your younger guys, because like Patrick Williams is not like a guy that is like a high level creator for himself. He and even Coby, he's been great during this stretch, but Coby thrives off of other guys drawing two to the ball and then him making plays off of that. And you know, again, when Vucevic was out, you really saw what that was, with only having DeMar to draw two to the ball, because the offense really went into the tank. So I don't know. I think they're going to probably ride it mostly out, even though everybody thinks that they're going to be sellers. Everybody thinks they should be sellers. I think they might just trade Zach and that's it. And if there are no good offers for Zach, they might just ride it out. And I don't know if I think that that's like the worst idea. Maybe you just see what happens this year and then take a swing at it in the offseason to really shake up the team. I just don't want them to like I just don't want them to re-sign DeMar DeRozan to a long extension. I like DeMar, and he's been wonderful for the Bulls in a lot of ways. Right. But he's pretty old. He's already starting to show signs of decline. Like he's really bad now on the second night of back-to-backs. And I think if you can get him for like what he's paid right now for like 2 more years, I'm interested. Maybe.
Sure.
If it's any more years than that or any more money than that, I would probably say see you later. Because it's just, where are you going? What are you doing with that? So
yeah, I can see a pathway where fans would probably want this team to become like the Washington Wizards or Charlotte Hornets and find a way to get some young upside, young player draft picks, but that's not really where this team, like it's not the stage where this team is at. So you gotta be kind of tactfully aggressive. So we'll see where they go. I'm curious to see what they do. Any parting thoughts on the Bulls before we get out of here?
Yeah, I'll just say one thing about like the fans who want to just blow it up, and like the just blow it up sort of ethos that is like pretty popular amongst a certain type of media person.
Sure.
This isn't NBA 2K. You have to, like, if you're a fan of the team, you still have to watch those games. I mean, unless you just check out, but like, I'm not going to do that. And like most like real fans of the team are going to keep watching the games. So you can't just sim through the season. So like, if you're like blowing it up, you have to know that like your team is going to suck, and it's going to suck to watch them for a while. And like the Bulls aren't like, they're not going anywhere, but like the last like 15, 20 games, they've been pretty fun. I've had fun. I've had a good time. Like it hasn't been terrible. I guess it wasn't 20 games. It's like more like the last 15 games. Like they've been good. They've been good to watch. They compete every night. They, even when they get down, they fight back. Like that, it's entertainment. I want them to be entertaining. I want them to play fun basketball, and I like to It's like a TV show. I got my guys. I get to watch my guys, and they're fun to watch. Like, I'm good, but not everything has to be, you know, one way or all the other. Like, you don't have to be terrible and have no good players. Uh, Anyways, that's my rant against the blow it up every time a team isn't gonna win the championship.
Yeah, no, I like it. It would be nice to have Wemby, but then he wouldn't be a once in a generation prospect. And there are, I think, aspects of that everybody has to remember. But the good thing about the Bulls is that they are still Zach LaVine is fun. I know that he can sometimes rub people the wrong way, but he's fun. Coby White's fun to watch. I love watching Alex Caruso play defense. Like, that's always a joy. And
he's another one that like everybody wants to trade because he's super valuable, and like I get it, but also I really like watching Alex Caruso play basketball every night for my favorite team. Like,
yeah.
Can I just do that? Can I just enjoy watching Alex Caruso play? Like, does everything have to be future focused? I need people to learn more about being zen and being present in the moment. Like, enjoy the thing that's in front of you. Don't always be thinking about the thing that could be.
I think it's fair. It's completely fair. Well, we will see whether they decide to go that direction or if they surprise everybody and actually decide, you know what, we're going to screw up Kevin's life and we are going to make this team so unhappy to watch. It's going to be great. He is Kevin Ferrigan of Dennis Podman. Really appreciate your Chicago Bulls coverage for us here at the Alley-Oop. Thank you so much, Kevin. Let's chat in 6 weeks, all right?
Sounds great.